Okay, so let's get to it. I'm going to open my basic stance. I'm just going to shift into the position, but when you work in the form, perform your salutation, open the basic stance and throw a left centerline punch followed by a right centerline punch. Complete a Fook Sau on each of the punches and pull the hand back to the sides of the chest, which is in application would be Fook Sau, which is a pull-in or a deflecting motion followed by a punch. So you're working that energy. The first section is pretty much about developing strength within the wrist, the elbows and the forearms, and actually starting to become aware of working through the center line with the basic shapes. The key focus of the first section is obviously working the Wu Sau, which you develop in Fook Sau, and you're working the Fook Sau, which you're going to need when you start practicing single and double sticky hands. Okay, open the left palm. Take the left hand forward, and as the wrist gets into the center line, push your elbow forward until the elbow and the wrist are in line with one another along the center line. That's your first thing. So it's roughly going to be about your clavicle, shoulder height. So let's just do that again. So you're going to open the hand, push the hand forward towards the center line, and then start to bring the elbow across into the center line. That's the first thing you need to do. So a little tip when you're practicing this, the small finger will allow you to pull the elbow in towards the center line. So what do I mean? Open the hand. So I'm going to exaggerate this, but I'm going to turn the hand up so that the small finger is the focus point, which is pulling the elbow into the center line. When you practice Chi Sao, having your elbow in the center, especially in single Chi Sao, is important. It's slightly off when you do double sticky hands, because when you've got two hands forward, you're very strong, or you should be very strong in this movement. So you don't actually, when you practice in double Chi Sao, you don't actually have your wrist and your forearms along the center line, because that means that you're crossing your arms, which is not great in the way that I was shown Chi Sao, but I'm aware that other schools do that. So open the hand, the small finger is the guide, push it forward, and then bring your elbow in, and you stop 1 fist distance from the body, which is a key principle in Wing Chun. Then from there, you're going to pull the hand back towards you. Notice the thumb's bent, so you're giving strength in the wrist and the forearms. Circle the hand back towards the opposite shoulder, and then pop the elbow out and sink the wrist down to form Jump Sau, which is a sinking arm movement. Let's just do that again. So you're here, pull the hand back, circle, and sink, Jump Sau. Then the elbow would have pushed forward slightly. Okay, so you would have lost that shape and that structure within the elbows, sorry, the shoulders being in alignment. So then what you're going to do, you're going to pull the shoulder back into alignment. Then you're going to pull the elbow back. You're going to keep this angle in the forearm, and you're going to pull the elbow back to 1 fist distance. Then you're going to take and you're going to work this muscle in the forearm. You're going to pull the Wu Sau back so that it's 1 fist distance. So now you've got an arm that's reasonably close to the body, approximately 1 fist distance, and it's back, and the Wu Sau is around the throat area, protecting the throat, and it also can raise to protect the head. So that's your first sort of set sequence of movements. Then you're going to drop the hand and you're going to turn all strength off. So you're going to relax the hand completely. Then you're going to go into a movement called Fook Sau, which means bridge on arm or controlling arm. You are going to pinch the finger and the thumb. You're going to push the hand forward, and as you do that, you're going to start to bring the elbow into the center line, and it stops at 1 fist distance. So if you can see, I'm pinching with the finger and the thumb, and that basically gives strength to the inside of the forearm, and I'm pulling the finger and the thumb back towards the elbow to really isolate and contract and strengthen the belly of the forearm, which is where you're going to deflect a lot of strikes and it's where you're going to stick to the arm on the inside. So you're pushing, you've stopped 1 fist distance. Then you're also going to make sure that the hand is parallel to the floor. That's it. So you're there. Then you're going to open, circle, jumps out, and you're going to sink down, small little jut of energy. Shoulder's going to be forward again. You're going to pull the shoulder back, elbow, upper arm to 1 fist distance. Then you're going to relax, push the hand forward towards the center line or along the center line, and you're going to guide the elbow in, stop in 1 fist distance. Circle, that's your hyun. Sink down to jump, and then pull your shoulder, elbow, and wrist. So I actually break this movement down into 3 stages. Shoulder, elbow, wrist. That's 3 kind of key steps that you want to learn when you're practicing the form. Then you relax, and then you push the back of the hand forward, and you're pulling the elbow in. So there's an angle that we tend to focus on in Wing Chun. I've not actually measured it, but it's the 135, I believe. Basically, your Fook Sau, your Tom, and your Bong all have the same angle. And that's the simplicity of Wing Chun, the ability to change your shapes quite quickly, which is a concept that's actually quite useful when you're sparring, when you're doing Chi Sau. If you're tiring, it's useful just to change your shape and allow the muscles to actually breathe and relax and go to a different position. And then when you fatigue again, you change shape. So if you look at the first form, you're in what we could call Tom, but this is a bridge arm. It allows you to do the movements. Then you change to Jut Sau. Sorry, not Jut Sau, Jump Sau. All these names, it's confusing. Then you pull back Wu Sau. Then you change shape to Fook Sau. And then you circle Hyun and you go Jum, Fook Sau, and Wu Sau. So you do that 3 times. You do 3 Fook Saus. The number 3 will come up a lot in your training. If you want my advice, just do it till you can't do it wrong, or just set a timer and just allow yourself to do possibly 10 minutes on one arm, 10 minutes on the other arm. You're learning to contract and relax the muscles. You're also developing forward energy and then backwards energy. So that's another key reason why you're practicing some of these movements. It's just to develop a plane of motion and actually be strong going forward. This shape in particular, like I said, we can call it Tan Sau, but for me it's just bridge arm. You're generally learning to focus on the center line. So your elbow is behind the wrist and you're controlling that shape like so. If the shape was broken, then you would punch over and recover or control the center line with a straight punch. If, for example, you was in a position of double sticky hands and somebody started pressing and breaking across, you would just change and hit straight to the face, because there's no point trying to fight it and push back. You may as well yield to it and go around and just change the punch from the inside to the outside gate. So that movement in particular to Chi Sau is referencing that you control the center line, and when you're broken, you kind of have to do something. If you're pushed on the wrist, you can then change to Bong Sau and do something else. So there's quite a few things that you can do, hopefully not a lot, because we want to keep things simple and we want an answer for everything that we're doing when we're in contact with an opponent's arms. So the sequence will look like this: open to a palm up position, forward into Tom or a bridge arm, Hyun, jump, Wu Sau, Fook Sau, Hyun. And you do that 3 times. When you come back to this position, you're going to go into Park Sau, which is a very short, sharp, explosive action. So you're going from a strength-based movement, you relax the fingers, and then you hit. And when you do this movement, you want to make sure that you're blocking to the outside edge of your shoulders. So you actually don't want to block past your shoulders because you're losing economy of motion. So you want to stay within your frame, which is why you've obviously measured, found the center line and kind of got an understanding of how wide you are. You go from Fook Sau or slap block. Then you have a choice. Show the palm and hit straight and go palm up, or, and I would recommend beginners do that for starting off because it requires very little snap of the wrist. But when you get a little bit more experienced, you can obviously relax the wrist and start to add those little details, those little nuances to develop your skill. So let's just recap. You're here, you relax all muscles and you hit sharp like a punch. I'd recommend doing 250, 500. Make sure you get the point to stop, which is a key principle of the forms, and you come back, turn, hit, and you accelerate and hit with a straight palm, like so. And you want to actually have the palm quite high. You don't want the palm strike low because the fingers are in the way. The higher you go, the more the fingers are pulled back, the more you're exposing the pads of the palm so that you can make contact. And obviously the palm strike is the shortest of the weapons, not including the elbow strikes. But if you think about it, Bu is the longest, then you've got your punch, and then you've got your palm strike. So in those three techniques, you're starting to become aware of distance and how close you kind of, or far away you need to be in order to hit somebody. So you do your palm strike, you keep your elbow low, thumb bent, pulled away, remember, it's an eye gouge, so you want to have a strong thumb when you do this. Turn the palm up, bring the elbow in, palm up position, keep your elbow locked. Then, as what we did with the centerline punch, you keep your arm straight and locked. You circle the hand back towards the opposite shoulder, keeping the thumb bent. And then keep the elbow locked, elbow locked, elbow locked, keep it locked. And then you cut across. Grip, you turn upside down, bring the elbow in, and then you pull back nice and sharp. Now with the first section, you're basically encouraged to do it on both sides because the first form is a single arm form. Even though you might be doing double-handed movements in the second section, they're doing the same thing, so we class that as a single arm movement. You're stationary, you haven't got to worry too much about distance and footwork, which make things a lot more complicated, and you're only using one arm. So standing in the basic stance, you can take full advantage of the fact that the only thing you need to think about is the position of your fingers, your elbow, your wrist, your where the hand is in relation to your center line. So that's the beauty of Siu Nim Tao. You're starting off nice and small, developing simple ideas, simple concepts, and you're developing strength within the muscles of the forearms, which is very important because if you want to be fast, if you want to be powerful, you have to be strong first. So you're encouraged, the first form is guiding you to say, there's a risk of you injuring your joints. It's going to be a good idea to start developing the tendons and the muscles to actually be nice and strong so that when you do accelerate a punch, the joints are protected, you're not going to hurt yourself. So practice the first section of the first form, do it on both sides. This is a short video because I said in my previous video, I don't want to give you too much detail. I just want you to come away from every video understanding the sequence and understanding the core techniques of the first form. And when we've got those basics down, we can actually start to apply it within the context of Fook Sau, single stick, double stick, Fook Sau or sparring, and any kind of street self-defense application. So as a martial artist, you're starting your training journey in the art, which is kind of where you need to be. So practice the first section of the first form, and we'll meet up in the next section when I will go through the second section. Have a great training session, and I'll see you soon.